It happened, I believe, Monday. Juan Soto, 765 million reasons to sign with the New York Mets. My friend Elliot Johnson, who, like me, made the mistake of not being a 26-year-old five-tool Dominican right fielder. This is an error in judgment on our part because I think we'd be set. Maybe we wouldn't even be discussing this today. How are you, sir?
Awesome, man. I mean, what I'm feeling even better about, Adam, is when Shohei did his $700 million deal, you asked me, is there somebody else you think should get it? And Soto was the player that I came up with.
Yep.
And so if anybody's going to get 765, then it's definitely going to be him. So think about the timing, the ability for him to have a auction with the Yankees and the basically the residue of the boss, where he won't be outbid ever. And now, Uncle Steve, who obviously his beloved fan group, as everybody's calling him, was not going to be outbid for Juan Soto's services. So everybody's going to complain about this contract later on. I understand they did it to Pujols. They'll do it to Soto. But if anybody's deserving, it's Soto. If you look at what he's been able to do in his track record at this point, he's very much deserving of it because he's been really underpaid relative to his output for call it the first 6 years of his career.
Well, you and I have discussed this before about the salary structures of Major League Baseball. Teams have figured out, like they've done in the NFL too, and trying to get the most out of players when they're on rookie deals. Teams are not afraid now to call guys up earlier than they would. No sense seasoning them. Hey, can you come to the big leagues and help us now because you're cheap at this point. We don't have to wait. We don't have to let you ease your way in. No, we're going to use you right now. And Juan Soto, at age 26, this was his age 25 season. So he's going into his age 26 season at the start of a 15-year deal. And I know 15 years, what is he going to do at 41? Who cares what he's doing at 41? What I really care about is the first 6 or 7 years of this deal if I'm a Mets fan. What happens beyond that, first of all, who knows if baseball will even exist. We might be wholly owned and operated by the People's Republic of China in 8 or 9 years. But the numbers that he put up with the Yankees last year, 41 home runs, 109 runs batted in, 989 OPS. The numbers that he put up the year before in San Diego, which was called kind of a down year. Only 35 home runs and 109 runs batted in. He walked 132 times, an OPS of just 930. That guy who's also an outstanding outfielder and a good teammate, it's the easiest contract in the world to sign.
Wow. It was a tough deal for anyone else to offer, but an easy deal for him to sign.
Do you think it's tough for anybody else to offer? Like other teams, they didn't want to. But couldn't other teams have offered this?
Of course. But you know as well as I do, Adam. There's a Scrooge index out on the internet right now where everyone can go in there. And Uncle Steve is paying 102% of his team revenues to the payroll.
Right.
I think the rate dead last at 32% of their revenues to payroll. So they can do it. They're choosing not to. And just to make it even more unsavory for Yankees fans, the Yankees were unwilling to accommodate his request to pay for a suite for him and his family at Yankee Stadium, whereas the Mets were much obliged to be able to do so.
Steve Cohen would give him the guest house. Like you can stay at the house. I'll live in the guest house. You come and you stay in the main house. Steve Cohen said it in the locker room last year after one of the Mets celebrations. His plan is to eliminate the stigma of being the Mets. And they have signed free agents before. It has not always gone well. So obviously the joke out there is I can't wait to see how this goes wrong. And it might. There's no guarantees in free agency.
Sure.
But this, of all the players that the Mets have signed, they haven't signed a single player going into his prime. And that's what Soto, technically, going into his age 26 season, he's going into his prime. Usually you get him in the middle or at the end of his prime. This is heading into it. This could be, again, we don't know how it's going to go, but I love it. What do you think of Elliot Johnson is joining us, former big leaguer at Elliot Johnson 9, but he never tweets. What do you think of the fact that none of this money, zero, is deferred?
Well, I think that was like a non-starter, it sounds like, from his camp. I don't think that they were willing to do it because I think that they want money in the bank now. If I'm reading the tea leaves, too, a little bit more, Adam, I won't go into it too much, but Scott Boras is his agent. He's getting older. I would imagine that he probably isn't interested in a deal that's going to extend past his 100th birthday. So that's something that, I don't think anybody else is thinking about these things, but probably just the stuff that goes on between my ears. But that might have something to do with it, might not. But also I think that from, getting dollars in his pocket today versus deferring it out, I don't think that he's getting as much endorsement income as Shohei is because
right.
Shohei is such a national star. Japanese market for off-field endorsement is a whole lot more ripe for opportunity than the Dominican Republic. It just is what it is. So that's part of it too. But I think Uncle Steve was more than happy to provide the $51 million of AAV, given that he's in his prime years. They're going to win. Probably, they've got 6-7 years of prime production from Soto. So it's still a really good deal for the guy, and obviously the Mets are expecting to win. I love it.
Yeah, but by the way, you mentioned Ohtani and the endorsement market in Japan. There's a reason why Naomi Osaka she obviously is a wonderful tennis player. Her prime is probably over at this point simply because she has not stayed on as active on tour, but she made all of the money in Japan. The way the Japanese public treats their athletic stars, they're beyond superstars. They're beyond athletes. They build statues and name cities after them, whether it's Hideki Matsuyama, the golfer who won the Masters, or Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani's probably the most famous person in all of Japan. I don't even think it's close. They're probably not even a number two.
That's why I think the World Baseball Classic is such a great game or a great thing for the game, Adam, because, Japan winning, it hurts, right? Because, we all have national pride and we all expect to win. Baseball's our sport. But Japan winning, think of the next generation of Ohtanis that are coming in 10, 15, 20 years because of it. You can't mistake that Ichiro didn't inspire Ohtani to be the player he became. So I'm excited about it. I think it's great for the game overall because we want the best players to come here to play because it makes the product better. We don't care where you come from. We just want the best. And it really doesn't matter how big you are. Look at Altuve. The guy can really play. And, I think that was one of the more funny Halloween costumes I've seen was an Aaron Judge and their son was with 3 was being Altuve that year, So I think that's what's great about our game. You don't need to be these, enormous figures, in stature. You just need to be good at baseball. You need to have good hand-eye coordination. You've got to work hard, all those different things that make baseball great. So I'm excited to see what ends up happening and how it extends. I think the Dominican Republic's going to continue to pour out players regardless of Soto signing this deal. But the World Baseball Classic has been a huge win for the game globally. All
right, the final thing before we have to say goodbye to Elliot Johnson. By the way, App State football coach Dowell Loggins is coming up on the other side. The golden at-bat that Rob Manfred floated, I don't know. I heard it on a podcast with John Oran from Puck News, podcast called The Varsity. And I sort of dismissed it, and then it became a major story. And is it fair? And for those people who don't know, golden at bat means even if you are in the lineup, if it is not your turn to bat once a game, given certain situations, a manager could simply say, "I want my best hitter to come up here. I know he just batted three batters ago, but I want him up here again." And you can do that once a game. Is it okay to both hate it and love it at the same time?
Yeah, I think you can love the idea of what that means, but I don't think that it makes any sense whatsoever. Again, I point back to, and of course you knew I was going to hate this, Adam, because we always have these, the steroid era was such a black eye on the game because the sanctity of the game and the records that help.
Right, the records.
Ted Williams, George Brett, all of these individuals, amazing players from yesteryear, that built this game to be what it is. And we're going to take away the opportunity. Here, let's do the most unique situation that ever occurred in the history of the game when Fernando Tatis Sr. hit 2 grand slams in the same games in the same inning.
Yep.
Okay. So he comes up, and what are we going to do? We're gonna replace him with because he was with the Cardinals. So Mark McGwire would have taken his at bat both of those times in that instance. Why would we do that?
Well, he could have done it, but you can only do it once. You can only do it once. He wouldn't have done it twice.
Okay, so you can only so he does. So McGwire does it, but then we don't ever have that, for example. Okay, Adam. So I don't like it. It's a team game. If you didn't get your grand slam the first time, you don't get second shots. You don't get a let's play it back with another out added on. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I like the idea because you want your best player in that spot. I mean, it's just like, when you're playing wiffle ball in the backyard, there's 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th and you go through all that stuff. Well, it's 1 out in the bottom of the 9th and then you get out. Oh, I get the golden at bat. And so I get to do a second run at it. That makes no sense. You had your shot, move on. The pitcher got the best of you. Now it's up to your teammate to come through for you. So I absolutely don't like it.
So that, again, I can't disagree with that because as a baseball purist from way back, I hate it. But at the same time, and I am legitimately conflicted by this, like if they institute it because they're going to do what they want to do, I won't hate it because I think it has the potential to be so cool. Every other sport, I can have LeBron James have the ball, unless he's fouled out, at the end of the game. I can put, Martin Necas on the ice as long as he hasn't been ejected from the game. I can use my best players in the most critical situations. I can control that. The only sport that you can't control it, although you can with a pitcher for the most part, is baseball. And I understand that. I understand how cool it would be. But at the same time, I get it. I understand why we hate it. I do, and I do have to go, but I am curious. Baseball is the only sport in which innovation is completely, you can't do it. We randomly decided that, at 22 feet 9 inches, a basketball shot is going to be worth 3 points. We just randomly decided that. What if we had a home run that traveled over 450 feet? That's worth 2 runs.
Interesting. The point that you bring up, I'll say this about, and we talked about this, I think, a couple summers ago, Adam, but the addition of the pitch clock, I hated it. I hated the idea. I hated having that it's a timeless game. I have absolutely loved the addition of the pitch clock. It's been wonderful for the game. Absolutely fantastic. It's been remarkable. So I'll give credit where it's due for Manfred and the boys at the MLB offices. But this is not what we want. We don't want to change. We don't want to change the way the game is played. We don't want to change the team sport nature here because you're taking away an at bat from a Major League Baseball player. Maybe he's not an uber star like Shohei or Soto, but he's still a Major League Baseball player. Okay,
I get it.
And he's the best person for the spot at that individual time because if there was somebody better for that spot, they would be wearing that uniform. And they would be in that position when their turn at bat came up. So that's what I'll say about that, Adam.
You're the man. I appreciate your time, Elliot. Take care.